Nuclear waste is pollution that comes from chemicals, especially from nuclear power plant facilities. Nuclear power usage began on December 20th, 1951, when Enrico Fermi, an Italian-American scientist, led a group of scientists in initiating the first self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction ever. But that's not the very beginning. Even back during the First World War, nuclear waste was being spread in the oceans. The new chemical warfare that came about during the early 1900s was putting chemicals into bodies of water and making their way into oceans. A popular chemical weapon was mustard gas. Shells of mustard gas were disposed of, entering the oceans and affecting the environments there. Most chemicals from gases in World War I and II started nuclear waste even before nuclear power plants were created.
Nuclear waste consists of hundreds of thousands of chemical spills in the oceans from wars, chemical weapons, and chemicals such as uranium, plutonium, cesium, and more. Lots of waste also comes from contaminated objects from nuclear power plants, like contaminated clothing and gear, shoe covers, rags, mops, filters, reactor water treatment residues, and equipment. There's also pollution from things such as medical tubes, swabs, injection needles, syringes, and laboratory animal carcasses.
Nuclear waste is formed when hospitals, nuclear reactors, research facilities, and fuel processing plants are used, as well as when nuclear facilities are broken down and destroyed. There are two types of nuclear waste, high and low-level waste. High-level waste mostly comes from old fuel which has been removed from reactors after being used for producing electricity. The nuclear reactor fuel is held inside metal rods. Before being used, the fuel is not highly radioactive, but after it is, it becomes much more toxic and develops into nuclear waste.
Nuclear waste pollution has many negative effects on the environment and organisms. One example of a place that had a major nuclear waste spill is Fukushima, Japan. On March 13, 2011, an earthquake and tsunami caused power loss in the Daiichi nuclear plant. That loss of power caused reactors to fail and nuclear waste to enter the ocean just near the plant. Those chemicals caused mutations in sea life there, so the government issued a rule prohibiting anyone from consuming any fish or animal product from several miles around the sea. The harm done to animals and plants can affect the other animals or people who consume them. Think of a chain reaction or domino effect. If a fish consumes another fish that has been affected by nuclear waste, then that fish takes in that nuclear waste and suffers the same effects. Effects include genetic mutations, reproductive difficulties, and increased chances of developing cancer or sicknesses, hence the rule in Japan prohibiting the consumption of seafood from the affected area. Plants are often weakened and killed by nuclear waste as well as suffer from mutations just like animals do, causing many areas that suffer large amounts of nuclear waste pollution to have fewer plants present.
Ways to prevent nuclear waste are to ban nuclear tests, to use alternate sources of energy that are eco-friendly, and to dispose of the waste properly. Disposing of nuclear waste takes time, money, and work. To dispose of nuclear waste safely, it must be processed. The processing procedure consists of collecting and sorting the waste. It also includes reducing its volume and altering its chemical and physical composition. Then, it must be placed into a cooling pool for years. In most cases, treatment processes reduce the nuclear waste by removing the radioactive component from it. Conditioning is another way to slow this type of pollution. It is used to bring the waste to a safe form so it can be moved and disposed of. It is done to steady the release of radionuclides into the environment. Nuclear waste will have long-standing effects on organisms and their environments, which will create sicker oceans, animals, and humans. It comes from many sources and has been affecting our oceans for over a century. To end this, the government and scientists need to work together to get rid of nuclear waste in an eco-friendly way to save the lives of millions of species.